Alright, the title, Hawthorn Hedge. The Hawthorn Hedge is an actual plant that was brought into Australia from England. So it's an import, an invader, if you will. Something that's not native, a plant that's not native to Australia.
We were kind of brought over from England too.
We were. So what they used it for, well, what it was good for was to grow as a hedge, and it had little thorny bits on it, and also some nice white flowers. It worked well as a livestock fence. So if you would grow it, if the farmers would grow it in certain spots, then it would act as a bit of a barrier or a fence for the livestock. So when we look at the structure of it, you can see that it's not tight, but you can see a bit of a pattern there. You can see there's structure and even rhyme. What do you notice about that?
They have short sentences at the end of each stanza.
Each stanza at the end of, Bailey's saying, has, say, little 3-word phrases, 3 or 4-word phrases, or...
But that's the same as the second one, so the second line in each stanza. Like the first and third.
So the
really
second and the fourth line in each stanza is shorter, correct? Yeah. How many lines in each stanza?
4.
4. Let's have a look. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stanzas. And let's have a look at the rhyming. So back up at stanza 1, we've got hedge, ago, ridge, snow.
Would hedge and ridge rhyme?
Yeah. So would you call it A-B, A-B?
Yeah.
Let's write that in. Let's just retain the A-B and see if it follows through. Okay. So let's look at stanza 2. Mare, pier, stair, here. A-B, A-B. Hill, tree, call, see. It's a bit looser with the hill and the call, isn't it?
Yeah.
But kind of a loose rhyme there. Wets, knife, sets, life. Hedge, snow, ridge, ago. A little bit different for the last one. Sky, wind, high, behind. Very slight change there, isn't it? Because wind and behind are not really a true rhyme. So you can see a slight change there with the rhyming pattern. But basically it's a fairly tight rhyming pattern throughout the entire poem. Let's have a look stanza by stanza. How long ago she planted the hawthorn hedge, she forgets how long ago. She's repeating that. How long ago, how long ago. Bit of repetition there. And she's introducing a persona of this female character within the poem. It could be a reflection of herself, maybe Judith Wright herself, sort of having almost like an out-of-body experience and looking at this persona, which may be herself. The barrier thorn across the hungry ridge, thorn and snow. So the barrier is referring to the hawthorn hedge. And this persona has actually intentionally planted this hedge because it says how long ago she planted the hawthorn hedge, she forgets how long ago. Also got some nice little repetition of the h sound in hawthorn hedge. And combined with that repetition, it's got kind of like a reflective quality because it starts with the persona reflecting on what the persona has done in the past. Why would she not know how long ago? And why is that significant? She got dementia. It's been there for such a long time, perhaps, that it's just in the far, far distant past. So this has been building, this barrier has been building for a long, long time.
This is a grey hair.
Oh, welcome. Well, almost third, I guess.
Third?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Because it's she rather than you. Second person would be more you. The reference to thorn, which is said twice in those last 2 lines, the third and the fourth line of the first stanza, indicates a connotation of kind of weaponry, something dangerous that's protruding. A thorn, isn't it? Does it feel like a friendly, soft kind of plant?
No.
No. So this is something that's going to probably ward off danger or ward off whatever you don't want to come in. Hedge of protection. The hungry ridge. This is just a description of the Australian landscape. So a ridge is something that could be quite dangerous, especially in our country. Can you picture it? Can you visualize a ridge? Why would it be described as hungry? What technique would you call that? Personification. Then a semicolon. So before that we had, if we're thinking about punctuation, 2 dashes and then a semicolon. How long ago she planted the Hawthorn Hedge? Dash. She forgets how long ago? Dash. What's the point of that punctuation? Indicating her internal landscape. So this planting of this hedge was a decision that she made, something that she intentionally did, but it's kind of hazy because it's in the distant past, and that is shown through the use of the punctuation. Hungry ridge is just a semicolon, which usually is used to be a continuation of an idea. Then it says thorn and snow. This is contrast because you've got the thorniness, which is kind of like the weaponry that I talked about, and then snow is kind of got a romantic sort of a quality. It could be literal snow, but most likely it's referring to, what do you think? What do you picture? Because you've got a hungry ridge, which is harsh, Australian landscape, and then some snow. They got nothing. It's most likely the little white flowers.
Oh.
So some descriptive language there with an imagery with the little white flowers. But it does have that romantic kind of connotation as well, so that brings in the contrast between the nice and the I got thorns. Stanza 2. It's twice as tall. Some nice alliteration there. So you guys, when you're going through the poem, I should see you circling the T's, circling the H's, and you're going to be writing down on the side. I always do mine in caps. You can do whatever you like, but with mine, if it's a technique, I write it in caps so that when I come back to study it, I can just remember. So you're going to write down alliteration, or just a lit for short. It's twice as tall as the rider on the tall mare, who draws his reins to peer in through the bee-hung blossom. A couple of things happening here. Judith Wright's introduced another character into this little story. So she's got the persona, and then, which is possibly herself, and then this random rider. When she says it, what is she describing? What's she talking about? That bush. So this bush is pretty darn big, because if it's a tall mare, horse, and then it's going to be twice as, she could be exaggerating though, it could be a bit of hyperbole. But the point is, the bush is big. The hedge is big. So it's been there for a long time and it's grown quite wild, possibly out of control. So the writer, the word peer, gives us a little indication of that real fancy, hedgy barrier. And then there's someone trying to connect through that barrier. This repetition of twice as tall and the tall mare creates that exaggeration to highlight the dominance of the hedge. Nice little description of the bee-hung blossom. That's just kind of a pretty description, don't you think? And you've got the alliteration of the B sound, which is a nice soft alliteration, contrasting with that harsh alliteration from the top of that stanza, twice as tall. So that gives perhaps a friendlier feel to the hedge at that time. A pretty kind of a feel to the hedge. Or it says, let him stare. 3-word short sentence. No one is here. We call that a truncated sentence, which gives it a jarring effect. So it's really short and it's kind of in opposition to the rest of that stanza, because you've got that really nice long sentence which goes over nearly 3 whole lines. It's twice as tall as the rider on the tall mare, who draws his reins to peer in through the bee-hung blossom. Let him stare. No one is here. Persona doesn't want anyone looking in or anyone coming in, does she? She wants to be insignificant, invisible, not connecting with anything beyond her hedge. And she has chosen that intentionally. Now we go on to find out in stanza 3 what the impact of the hedge is. It says, only the mad old girl from the hut on the hill. It's an older word. My mother used to say it a lot when I didn't brush my hair. So you let your grooming go, you're all messy, bit wild, bit woolly, unkempt as an old tree. Would you call that a simile? Yes, so that's right, simile. Who's she describing? Because a simile is the use of comparison. Who's the mad old girl? the persona, which is most likely her. Why would she be mad? Is she angry?
Imagine
Or is it crazy mad?
I imagine like a lady who has kids, but they don't like her, so then she just shuts off from the world.
She does
That's
shut off
what
from
I'm
the world.
imagining.
It says from the hut on the hill, which gives you the feeling of isolation, hermit-like existence, and like she's just let herself go, like she's gone a bit crazy and she doesn't care about societal constraints anymore. She's just going to do whatever she wants.
It's like in Tomorrow in the World.
With the simile, Judith Wright's brought in that natural environment of the tree. She will hide away if you wave your hand or call. Semicolon, continuing the idea, she will not see. Who's you? Why is you there? Who's she talking to? Who's going to come and wave at her? Maybe it's us. Maybe it's a responder. Maybe it's anyone who wants to try and come and connect with her, or anyone who wants to come and try and interfere with her, the little thing that she's set up there inside her barrier. She will not see. Why won't she see? 2 reasons. The hedge is there, which she put there,
She won't want to.
and she chooses not to. She doesn't want to. She wants to be away, apart from the environment beyond, or the landscape beyond her barrier. There's an image in that stanza of neglect and deterioration, and the hedge now has a very negative impact on her because she's gone a little bit wild, she's gone away from social norms, she's choosing not to interact with the outside environment or landscape. Stanza 4. It says, year long, wind turns her grindstone heart. So here we've got the time idea again. Time is moving on. She's used a hyphen there to make year long. The wind turns her grindstone heart. What's a grindstone? So why would her heart be grindstone? Is that a metaphor? Is her heart becoming hardened? More of a negative impact of the...
I swear as you get older you can only go 2 ways.
Really?
Yeah.
What are they?
You can only be really happy and nice, or really mean and grumpy.
Which one should I do?
Happy and nice.
Oh,
Mean and grumpy, nobody likes you.
who cares? You don't need friends when you're older.
That's what everyone says.
And whets. What's that word?
I have no clue.
When they would sharpen things using that, you would often need some lubricant, like moisture. And what's doing all this? The wind is. So an element from nature, from the landscape, is doing all this, isn't it? And it whets a thorn branch like a knife. Shouting. Okay, so hang on, back up a bit. Who or what is shouting? There's lots happening here. The wind. The wind turns, the wind wets, the winds shout. The wind shouts, yes. The wind's very busy. What does it shout in winter? With a capital D.
Death.
And then when the white bud sets, which would be the nice little white flowers,
Right.
more loudly.
Oh, because it like lose all its flowers in winter. And it'll just be like a stick, so it'll look like it's dead.
So it's going to have gaps in it. So in spring and summer, it's going to be more lush, I guess, with the leaves and the buds and all that sort of stuff. That's seasonal. And you've got the contrast in big letters, between life and death, and then the seasonal things, which is often metaphorical reference to time lapse and also to life and change and ebb and flow and how things cycle around. The knife is a sort of a harsh image again, because the knife is a weapon, just like the thorns kind of act as though they're a weapon as well. And the contrasts of the life and the death are juxtaposed in the 2 lines next to each other. So you've got juxtaposition. You need to be writing all this down so that you can write an essay about this. So with this imagery of the weapon, the grindstone, the harshness, the death versus the life, we've almost got like a battle kind of imagery, warfare imagery. Well, who would the persona be at war with, or what? She's got some little something going on in there, hasn't she?
She's angry at the
She's got some
world.
psychological things happening, the psychological landscape of what she is going through herself. Even battling the physical landscape, because she doesn't really want to know about that ridge and about the guy who's coming along on the horse or anything outside. She just doesn't want to know about it.
It reminds me of that
She's
song,
protecting herself.
and how it's like, oh,
Good one. Stanza,
I don't think
I've lost count, 5. Let's read stanza 5. It says, she has forgotten when she planted the hawthorn hedge. This is linking back to the first stanza when it says how long ago she planted. She forgets how long ago. And now it's kind of reflecting or coming back to try and not really answer, but address that concept of the fact that she's forgotten. She's forgotten when she planted the hawthorn hedge. That thorn, that green, that snow. Okay, so why? It's got that 3 times in a row, repetition. Yeah, we call it like anaphora because it's like the nice tidy 3. And what's she describing when she says that thorn, that green, that snow?
the plant.
Yeah, the hawthorn hedge itself. So there's more description.
Flowers,
Yeah, so this barrier that she's created and planted and allowed to grow has all these elements, has the thorniness, the green, the pretty snow, bird song and sun dazzled across the ridge. Oh, we're back to the ridge again. But this time it seems to have more of a positive connotation, the ridge. What vocab makes it seem positive?
bird song.
Yeah, sorry camera. The dazzling sun, the lovely bird song, it's all pretty, la la. But it's out there, she's in here. She may not be able to appreciate all the beautiful stuff that's going on in the physical landscape out there. Why? Because she's purposefully barricaded herself away from all of that stuff. So not only is the Australian, if we think about the ridge, not only is the Australian landscape dangerous, harsh, hungry, there is beauty in there. And then a nice long dash, punctuation, helps us to refocus to the answering or the addressing of that issue, of the fact that she can't remember, that was a long time ago. It says, it was long ago. We're up to the last stanza, aren't we?
Yeah.
All right, now this one is slightly different, which we notice because the rhyme has changed just a little bit.
And it's like her, not she.
Yeah, very good. It's her, not she. Another slight shift. Her hands were strong in the earth, her glance in the sky, her song was sweet on the wind. So now there is a change, isn't there? So more of a positive connotation, because before she's got grindstone heart, she's old, she's crazy, mad. We've got her hands, her glance, her song. So we call that anaphora. It's a positive kind of reflection. The hawthorn hedge took root, grew wild and high to hide behind. So she's created a space for herself where she's happy within it because of that positive vocab, sweet on the wind, sky, stronger, and she's really connecting with the environment, but not the entire environment. She's connecting in here, in this protected little space, and that makes her happy. So you got kind of 2 things happening there. The comment on the impact of the landscape on an individual and how that can impact their psyche and how they choose to interact with it, and the interdependence or the fight against the landscape, especially in Australia because ours is so harsh. We've got her identity, which is linked to the landscape, so she can only be happy if she can control her small area, and she can, because her hands are strong in the earth, so she must be sort of gardening or doing something with the land, maybe dominating the land. Remember, this is a plant that's been introduced, it's a foreign plant that's created all this. She's chosen to plant it.
Was the hedge like a representation of like the British colonization?
Yes, Bailey, you're a genius.
When he first read the poems, he hated them all, and then look at him going.
He's a genius. I always said that. Yes, so there's kind of a deeper level. Like there's just this descriptive, nice sort of poem that helps us to think about the Australian landscape and then the individual's interaction or relationship with that landscape. And then, hang on a minute, this is an introduced plant. And how does that impact the natural environment? And then the representation on another level of colonisation. invasion
Invasion.
and us trying to, humans in general, not necessarily the British, but humans in general, trying to conquer the land and trying to control it. And that doesn't always work out so well for us. It makes us happy in one sense, in this small sense it makes us happy, but at what expense? I have got lots of things written down here, things about life in general. I've written life occurs when barriers are non-existent. What do you think? Because is this persona truly living?
No.
But she's really not engaging with the whole landscape. And
Yeah.
so if she were to have no barrier, perhaps she could realise some kind of fulfilment and some true, authentic interaction
That's
with the
us at the
landscape.
moment with school.
Her unwillingness to accept the realities of Australian landscape, the reality that it's dangerous and harsh, but also at the same time beautiful. So what can we learn from that? Are we unwilling sometimes to accept the realities of our landscapes? She intentionally ignores aspects of the natural world by planting this landscape, this hedge. She made that choice, and it's referred to as happening a long time ago. It's so far into the past, but she still accepts it. She doesn't pull it out, does she? She doesn't make a choice to go, oh, enough of this, I'm just going to pull it all out, slash it. It's become part of her whole existence, that decision to plant it. And she kind of can't even, it's just part of the way that she is. So it's so long ago, it's just she can't even remember. It's just the way it is. And she subverts the conventional notions of humanity's power.
She what?
Subverts, so she's putting it upside down, challenging it and reversing it. She's forcing us to consider the relationship that humans have with the land. And she's showing that actually, in actual fact, we are quite vulnerable to our physical landscape. She's exploring the impact of the landscape on an individual human being. And she's asserting that our identity is linked to our landscape. Any comments or questions on that?